Hey there, this is Dave Bensman with Bensman Home Computer Repair. Today I'm going to be doing a project. I have a video game system that I built a while back. The computer that sits in the base here is no longer turning on. When you hit the power button, you get no lights, no sound. And so we're going to try and figure out what the root cause of that is, and we're going to try to repair it. As you can see right here, the computer is pretty dirty and dusty, and that may be a contributing factor as to why it's not turning on. Normally I would be cleaning these vents, but as you can see, my wife is kind of an amateur hoarder. I love you, honey, but you do have to get rid of some of this stuff. And I just was able to get back there because she's out of town. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this computer into the office, we're going to plug it up, and we're going to see if we can't fix it. Okay, so we're back in action here in my hobby room, and as you can see, I'm also a bit of a hoarder, but my stuff is cool, whereas my wife's stuff is yarn. Again, I love you, honey. Now, back to the job at hand. As you can see, we've got basically almost total blockage of this air vent. This is no good. Your internal components of your computer require cold air to be moving over them in order to maintain the proper temperature and not fry. So that's definitely something that needs to be rectified. We're going to pull the side of the case off here. And oh no, that's not good. As you can see, you've got dust all the way in there. I bet there's dust clogging the heat sink, which is under that fan, which is the thing that cools the processor. So we may have a fried processor, but definitely we're going to have an underperforming computer just because of all that dust. What I am kind of concerned about is this power supply. Typically when you don't have things powering on at all, it can be a bad power supply. But before we address the power supply, I want to get rid of a lot of this dust. So I'm going to go vacuum the computer out, and then we're going to continue on with the next phase. Okay, well, I managed to vacuum out most of the egregious dust from the vents and everything, and I was able to pry the fan off of the heat sink. And then when we did that, and we cleaned out, most of the dust out of that, and when we did that, we find, as you can see right here, just all the dust is caked between the heat sink's little, flanges that are designed to give the heat sink more surface area so that it can more effectively cool the processor that's underneath it. Also, we found some more dust on the other side of the power supply, which is what I suspect to be the root cause of the whole problem. But even if we replace the power supply, which that's what we're going to do to troubleshoot this issue, we still need to clean that dust out of that heat sink, or the thing's really not going to be running that well. So I'm going to go do that, and I will be right back. All right, we were successfully able to vacuum the dust out of the heat sink and get a lot of it out of the bottom of the power supply. One thing I do want to note is, one thing that I noticed is that I had this unused power cable. What you really should do, I got a bit lazy when I was doing this, what you really should do is you should tie down all your power cables on the inside of the computer, because the loose power cable can impede airflow. But what I noticed while I was bumping around in here initially is that this cable was stuck inside this fan and impeding it from moving. So that means that the fan is possibly burned out. Now that's not a big deal and is not the reason why this thing isn't turning on, because this is a fan that I added, and the machine was not designed to run with it. So it doesn't really need that fan. At most it was just helping out. So now that I've cleaned all the dust out of the machine that I reasonably can clean out, easily, and I've taken the fan off of the heatsink, now I have room to replace the power supply. So I'm going to go find a working power supply, and I'll be back, and that's what we're going to do next. We're going to replace the power supply. Okay, so I found this Thermaltake 430 watt power supply in a computer that I'm not using, and I turned it on just to make sure that it was working, and then I removed it because now we know it's a good power supply. So now all we have to do is remove this power supply right here from this computer, pop the other one in, and see if my initial diagnosis was correct. So now we're going to pop the fan back on. Stick that right there, like that. So now the thing is all together, and now we're going to plug it in, and we're going to see if it works. Here is a standard power cable. We're going to plug this into a nearby power source. And we're going to plug it into the computer. And we're going to turn it on. Now, if it works, that means I was right, and it was a power supply. And if it does not turn on, that means it is most likely going to be a motherboard issue. And in which case, because of the age of the computer, I'm probably going to junk the PC. It's not worth replacing a motherboard for. There we go. And now, oh, yep, it immediately turned on. Here, here we go. Yeah, can you see? Let me see. Yeah, you can see the fan is spinning, and you can see the power light is on, and that's what it was. It was a dead power supply. A very common problem with computers, power supplies going very easy to fix, and that did fix it. So now we're going to plug the computer back in where it goes, put the side of the case on it first, obviously, and then we're going to make sure everything works. All right, well, we replaced the power supply, put the computer back into the game machine, plugged everything back in, and everything's working the way we want it to. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and that's Dave Bensman from Bensman Home Computer Repair. Thank you very much.